Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something pretty fundamental. It's all about how to live a thriving life in diversity.
That's right. And it's a really interesting perspective we're looking at.
Yeah, our source material is, well, it's a set of teaching materials. Think lesson plans, news clips as case studies, some really sharp questions. Originally for, I believe, high school students in Thailand.
Yeah.
Mathayam 3, so around 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
But, don't let the high school curriculum part fool you.
No, absolutely not.
What's fascinating is how it boils down these, universal truths about behavior, society. Things that apply to all of us, really.
It really does. This whole deep dive, essentially, is about understanding why it's so critical to live correctly. And that means, practically, day to day,
Right.
but also ethically on a deeper level.
So it's not just about staying out of trouble.
Not at all. It's about actively building a life that, works for you and for the people around you. It gives a framework for handling, life's messiness.
Okay, let's unpack that framework. The starting point in these materials is helping students spot behaviors that go against the grain.
Right, against accepted norms.
And it does this clever thing, splitting norms into two types. Worldly, sort of societal rules, public life.
Yeah, how we function together.
And moral standards, the ethical stuff, maybe even spiritual.
Exactly. And what makes it stick, I think, is using real-world examples. It's not just theory.
No abstract rules.
Right. It uses these scenarios to get you thinking about cause and effect, what happens when people act a certain way. It really prompts that critical thinking.
So let's dive into the first example. It's a news clip. The title is pretty jarring. Teens creating chaos, racing cars in front of a hospital.
Oh.
Just that title hits hard, and the material asks these direct questions. What happened? Who did it affect? What are the likely consequences?
Straight to the point.
Forces you to really look at it.
And the analysis goes deep into the impact, the ripple effects. For the teens themselves, it's not just, potential legal trouble.
Which is serious enough.
Definitely. But it's also about what it says about their self-discipline, their judgment, things that can really impact their future, right? Like jobs, education.
Totally.
And then there's the impact on others, society.
Yeah, the hospital scenario makes that painfully clear.
It's chaos. It endangers patients, staff, everyone. It's a direct violation of public order, public safety.
It breaks the rules, obviously.
But more than that, it kind of erodes trust. That basic sense of safety you expect in a community. It shows how personal actions aren't really just personal.
A really powerful negative example. So let's switch gears completely. The source contrasts this with another news clip.
A very different story.
Yeah, this one's from Thai PBS News, titled Hero on Stage, Victim Behind the Scenes. It features a high school student, Nong Fan. And Nong Fan did something pretty incredible. He saw a tourist attempting to jump from a bridge, Sathon Bridge.
Oh.
And he intervened, talked to them, persuaded them not to jump, saved their life.
Just amazing courage and empathy there. And this is where the teaching material is so effective, putting these side by side, Nong Fan's actions. They're the complete opposite of the racing teens.
Total contrast.
You see empathy, bravery, helping others. It lines up perfectly with both those worldly good citizen standards and the moral compassion standards.
And the material asks that simple, direct question again. Which behavior should you imitate and why?
It really cuts to the chase, doesn't it? Forces that choice, highlights the lesson. What do you think makes that comparison so effective for, say, a teenager learning this?
I think it's just seeing it. Not being told be good, but seeing the stark difference in outcomes. One creates danger, the other saves a life. It's concrete.
Right.
And this leads nicely into the reflection activity in the source. It asks the big question. Why is it important to follow both worldly and moral standards?
Ah, yes. This is where we get the core principles for that thriving life.
The roadmap, essentially.
Exactly. Two interconnected paths.
Okay, let's take the first path. Worldly standards. The source uses the Thai phrase, "Tatankan," which translates roughly to society and living.
So the practical side of things, how life works day to day.
Pretty much. The material highlights three key benefits here. First, achieving success.
Okay.
It argues that things like diligence, honesty, discipline, like Nong Fan showed, aren't just nice ideas. They actually lead to success in school, work, relationships.
So character traits as practical tools.
You could say that. They're reliable ways to move forward. Second point, harmonious coexistence.
Makes sense.
When you act ethically, respect rules, respect others, You build trust. You gain social acceptance. It's the opposite of the friction caused by the racers.
It builds community, basically.
Exactly. It's glue, not a sledgehammer. And the third worldly point, avoiding problems.
The obvious one, maybe. Like avoiding jail.
Well, yes, but it's broader. It's minimizing conflict, legal issues, sure, but also, interestingly, mental distress.
How so? Living correctly, living in line with these standards, reduces anxiety, reduces the stress of potential negative consequences catching up with you. It's almost like a preventative mental health care built into how you live.
That's a really insightful way to put it. Okay, so that's the worldly path. What about the second one, the moral standards? Mind and morality virtue. This digs deeper into the internal benefits.
More spiritual, maybe? Or psychological?
Both, I'd say, and they absolutely reinforce the worldly side. The first point here is developing a calm and strong mind.
How does it suggest doing that?
It mentions specific concepts, likely familiar in a Thai context but universally relevant. Sila, which is like precepts or ethical conduct. Samadhi, concentration or mental discipline. And Panya, wisdom or insight.
So practical mental tools.
Exactly. Practices to build resilience, focus, peace, to stay steady when things get tough or tempting. Think of concentration, Samadhi. In today's world, that's a superpower.
No kidding. What's the second moral point? Finding life's purpose. The idea is that living by moral principles, by dharma in this context, gives life meaning beyond just stuff, material things.
A sense of connection to something bigger.
Precisely, an anchor. And the third moral point is gaining wisdom and self-awareness.
Yeah, okay.
Following moral teachings helps you understand yourself better, understand the nature of things like impermanence. It encourages detachment from fleeting desires.
Leading to
a more genuine, stable happiness, one that isn't dependent on everything going perfectly outside. It's about inner freedom, really.
Wow, that's quite a framework built from essentially a social studies lesson. It all ties together neatly.
It does.
And the source material kind of wraps it all up with a Buddhist proverb, doesn't it? I found this really striking. Yes. That's a powerful one. Can you translate that for us and explain its significance here?
Sure. It translates to humans are not evil because of their birth, nor good because of their birth, but are good or evil because of their actions.
Because of their actions.
Exactly. It perfectly encapsulates this whole framework. It says, forget where you came from, forget status or background. What defines you, what shapes your life and your impact is what you do, your choices, your actions.
It puts the responsibility and the power right back on the individual.
Completely. It views goodness not as some fixed trait you're born with, but as something you actively practice moment by moment.
So, looking back at our deep dive today, we've seen how this educational material from Thailand offers these incredibly profound, universal lessons.
Absolutely.
We saw the stark contrast, the chaos and danger from reckless actions versus the life-saving impact of compassion and courage. And the message seems crystal clear. Our actions matter. They have real consequences, shaping our lives, our society, and crucially, our own inner state. Even small things count.
They really do. Which brings us to that final thought for you, the listener. If that proverb is right, if our actions define us more than anything else, what's one seemingly small choice you could make today? A conscious action, however minor, that ripples outwards. Something that contributes, even slightly, to a more thriving world both outwardly, in society, and inwardly for yourself.
Not necessarily a grand gesture.
Not at all. Maybe just choosing connection over conflict in the next conversation. Or empathy when it feels easier to be indifferent. Something to think about as you go through your day.